Imagine a cold morning fog lifting as the sun rises over St. Petersburg in the mid-19th century. Majestic facades and granite embankments silently watch over deserted streets. The year is 1860, and the capital of the Russian Empire is proud and magnificent, but life itself seems to have frozen within it. An eerie, unnatural silence reigns. According to official records, about 500,000 people lived in the city during this period. This was a massive number for the time, but old photographs paint a completely different, unsettling picture. The city is empty. Wide avenues, bridges, and squares capable of holding enormous crowds are completely deserted. The long shadow of the Alexander Column suggests that the photo was taken either early in the morning or in the evening. But even for the earliest hour, the emptiness of the streets is astonishing. Where are the carriage drivers, the merchants, the officials rushing about their business? Where did the inhabitants of this huge metropolis go? Let's travel 400 miles to Moscow, and we see a painfully familiar scene. In 1860, the population of the ancient capital also numbered around 500,000. Yet in photographs from that time, we find the same mysterious void. Grand buildings designed for millions stand in deafening silence. It feels as if we are looking at gigantic, masterfully crafted, but abandoned stage sets. This discrepancy gives rise to the main question: where could hundreds of thousands of residents have disappeared to? Official history claims that the populations of these cities grew gradually, starting from the 18th century. Many of the buildings captured in these images were built long before the photos were taken. Why build such grand infrastructure if the cities were practically uninhabited? Perhaps Russian architects simply planned with incredible scope for centuries ahead. But this explanation seems too simple for such a widespread and haunting silence. Was this just a strange feature of life in the Russian Empire at the time? A mystery unique to these two capitals? Or are we witnessing evidence of a phenomenon that was far, far more widespread? To find the answer, we must look at what was happening in the rest of the world during the very same period. The mystery of the empty Russian capitals turns out to be just the tip of the iceberg, the visible part of a much deeper and more comprehensive enigma. Leaving the Russian Empire behind, we embark on a swift journey across the globe, and everywhere we are met with the same inexplicable, eerie silence. Here is Edinburgh, Scotland in the 1840s. Its ancient stone buildings and narrow streets should be filled with noise, but they are silent. Here is Copenhagen, Denmark during the same period. Tidy building facades look out onto deserted canals and cobblestone streets. Dresden, Germany, 1860. A city famous for its Baroque splendor looks like a majestic museum from which all visitors have suddenly vanished. This phenomenon isn't limited to old Europe. It crosses oceans. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 1860. The tropical sun illuminates wide avenues with not a single carriage, not a single pedestrian. Toronto, Canada, 1860. A young city that should be buzzing with the energy of growth is frozen in strange stillness. Even Athens, the cradle of Western civilization, appears silent and abandoned in photos from that period. It feels as if some global epidemic of silence swept the planet, causing the inhabitants of huge cities to simply evaporate, leaving behind only the stone evidence of their former presence. But amid this worldwide emptiness, oases of bustling life suddenly appear, and this makes the mystery even more complex. In the very same historical period, London and Paris are the complete opposite. Their streets are crowded with people in horse-drawn carriages. Life is in full swing, creating the chaotic but natural picture of a functioning metropolis. This observation completely shatters the simplest and most obvious explanation. If the issue was a technical feature of early photography, like long exposure times that couldn't capture moving objects, then we wouldn't see the lively streets of Paris either. The technology was the same. But for some reason, in some cities it captures bustling life, while in others it captures only dead architecture. Decades pass and people finally begin to appear in photographs of these once empty cities. It seems that life is returning to normal. But here the mystery is not resolved, it only deepens. A new, far more striking contrast emerges. This new dissonance is no longer about the absence of people, but about their clear incompatibility with the world they inhabit. In the images, we see people in simple, sometimes primitive clothing. They travel in crude carts on muddy, unpaved roads. Their way of life and technology seem unsophisticated. And these people exist against a backdrop of incredible, gigantic, and majestic buildings, stunning in the complexity of their architecture and engineering. This gives rise to a new, more fundamental question: the astonishing contrast between the creators and their creations. When the cities cease to be empty, one mystery is replaced by another. We see people whose appearance and lifestyle seem utterly simple, dressed in rough clothing, faces reflecting hardship, carts stuck in mud, all standing in the shadow of giant, grandiose structures, the pinnacle of architectural and engineering thought. How could people whose technology didn't even allow them to build proper roads erect such masterpieces? How could they create architecture that inspires awe even today and seems almost impossible to replicate? Let's focus on one specific example, the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. According to official history, its construction took place between 1806 and 1836. It is a colossal structure made of nearly 37,000 cubic meters of limestone, weighing over 95,000 tons. How could such an incredible amount of material be transported using only horse-drawn carts on muddy roads? Then comes the technological question. Its flawless symmetry, intricate carvings, and mathematical precision, all supposedly done by hand decades before electric drills existed. And finally, within 40 years of completion, photographs already show erosion and cracks in its stone, far too aged for a 40-year-old monument. Paris and its Arc de Triomphe are not unique. The same contradictions appear across the globe. St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow, the Crystal Palace in London, the Pennsylvania Station in New York, the Frauenkirche in Dresden, the Library of Parliament in Ottawa. Each of these structures seems too complex, too vast, too advanced for the time and tools attributed to them. Official historians explain this away with a convenient term, historicism, claiming these were merely imitations of older styles. But can a copy truly surpass the original in scale, precision, and perfection? All these disparate facts, empty cities, impossible architecture, and rapid construction, form a single picture that diverges sharply from what textbooks tell us. The final most striking case is that of San Francisco. In 1846, it was just a tiny settlement called Yerba Buena, home to about 500 settlers. Yet by 1877, just 31 years later, it had transformed into a massive metropolis of monumental architecture, domes, cafeterias, colonnades, and grand avenues. Officially, this was due to the gold rush. But how could a population of mostly miners, farmers, and fortune seekers, with no industry, no cranes, no electricity, build such a city in 3 decades? And once again, the photographs reveal the ultimate mystery. The city is empty. Not a single person in sight. Streets silent, chimneys cold, life absent. Thus, the circle closes. The photographs don't lie. They show empty cities of impossible beauty, later populated by people seemingly incapable of building them. So we reach the heart of the paradox, the great divide between what we are told and what we can see with our own eyes. 3 undeniable facts emerge. 1. The phenomenon of empty cities, a global silence. 2. The technological gap, advanced architecture amid primitive society. 3. The impossible speed of construction, entire metropolises rising in decades. Official history asks us to accept this on faith, but the photographs stand as silent witnesses to a different truth, one that hints at a forgotten civilization capable of wonders beyond our own. If those we see in the photos did not build these structures, then who did? And what happened to them? That question remains unanswered. And it is this question that transforms old photographs into a portal to one of the greatest mysteries in human history.